Welcome to the channel. This is a high mileage review of a 2011 Chevy Cruze. The Chevy Cruze was designed for 2011 to replace the aging Chevy Cobalt. This was their new small car entry to compete with the Honda Civic, Toyota Corolla, and the various other small cars in the segment. This particular Chevy Cruze, like I said, is a 2011. It's an LTZ, and it currently has 220,000 miles on it. Let's take a walk around and see how it's worn. As we begin to take a walk around the Chevy Cruze here, we notice that the paint still shines nice. Not a lot of wear or tear on the outside. One of the things I did notice is we have some clear coat peeling right there. And the headlights, as you would expect, on the parts that are most exposed to the sun are starting to fade. There's no rust to speak of, and this vehicle is in the Northeast, with no other real sun fading or other issues that you would expect of a car that is now 8 years old and 200 and some thousand miles. One important note, if you are curious, is the wheels have been changed on this car from an LTZ wheel to an LS wheel. So these are not, they are stock Chevy wheels and have worn very well as well, but they are not the factory ones that came on this car. This Cruze is equipped with the 1.4 liter turbocharged engine with 138 horsepower from the factory. Everything is stock under the hood except for a K&N air filter. It was rated around 36 miles to the gallon from the factory and has held that gas mileage even now at 220,000 miles. Let's take a listen. As you can see, the engine is quiet and running well for the age with no noticeable knocks or other issues to be concerned about. Now let's talk about some of the common issues that crop up with this 1.4 liter Ecotec engine. The most common failure that I'm aware of with these engines is a faulty PCV valve. The design for the PCV valve, it sits right on top of the engine. It's a fault in the design of the intake and everything else that's involved with it that causes the PCV valve to fail, which gives you a nasty oil smell inside the car. I've seen that on cars with as low as 25,000 miles up through ones that have 200 or plus thousand miles. They generally need to be replaced somewhere around every 10 to 20,000 miles, so it's just a fault in the design by GM on that. This particular car has also suffered from some coolant issues as well. We've replaced many of the coolant lines, and just has always been a problem that we've sort of chased with this one. And the biggest issue that I want to mention is this is not the original engine in this car. The original engine lasted to 200,000 miles. At that point, it started running rough and had an issue where it lost compression in cylinder number 3. We had a new engine with about 75,000 miles put in, so even though it's not the exact engine, the original one still lasted until 200,000 miles. Now, as far as actual driving dynamics, well, the Cruze, in my opinion, was one of the better driving small cars. I've driven in several of them, and along it and the Honda Civic both drove and handled the best out of the small cars in the segment. Even the overall fit and finish I felt were comparable between the Honda Civic and the Chevy Cruze. However, the Honda Civic was a little larger on the inside, and we'll talk more about that when we get to the interior. Since this is an LT model trim, you'll notice that we have the two-tone leather seats, the nice brown, which I prefer, but everyone has their own preference in that area. You can see that theme goes to the door panels as well, and if you take a look, the seats have worn remarkably well. Almost no wear showing at all. You would think it was from a car with, 40,000 miles instead of one with 200,000. And this driver's seat, you can see, is one of the ones that was used. The other seats did not have passengers in as often, but even the driver's seat has worn remarkably well over the years and for the miles. The rear seat has worn just as well as the fronts have. And all the surfaces are pretty nice to the touch and do feel like there is decent fit and finish, especially considering Chevy's reputation for having cheap interiors. The Cruze's dash is also worn very well with no real fading, cracking, or other issues. The steering wheel leather has held up remarkably well. There's really nothing to note here of any wear and tear in the entire inside. Another important note for the interior is that all the electronics work perfectly. All the windows go up and down with speed. Radio works flawlessly, heated seats still work, no electronic or other issues that way whatsoever. Everything functions exactly as intended. Some Chevy Cruze owners did mention that from the factory that there was a bad ground somewhere for the electronics in the interior and would cause some sporadic issues, but this particular car has not ever experienced any of those. So as we come close to the end of the review, you're probably wondering if I would buy this car with 200,000 miles or not. And the truth is, I probably wouldn't. With the PCV valve issues as well as various other issues, if you search reviews on these cars, you'll notice a variety of issues that people have experienced. Engine, coolant, and emissions-related issues are the ones that have plagued this car the most since new. The interior, body, all of those things have held up fairly well, and I think that's fairly consistent across all the Cruzes. But electronics and engine issues are some of the biggest things. Now, one of the things I wanted to mention is there has never been any transmission issues with this car. The transmission has always shifted flawlessly with no issues. But as far as recommending to buy one with 200,000 miles, I just can't do it. If you found one with 100,000 miles, I would say make sure you have a good mechanic check it out, and that it's roadworthy and has had proper maintenance and things like that done. But be aware that maybe some of the issues that have plagued this car and some of the other ones may crop up for you. Price is always the biggest factor. If you find something for the right price, I can't tell you not to buy it. That being said, it is one of the better driving, and in my opinion, one of the better fit and finish small cars on the road. I love what Chevy did with the interior, driving dynamics, all of those things are great, but reliability just isn't quite where it should be for me. Thank you so much for watching. Have a great day.